All right, guys, welcome back to the channel and thanks for dropping by. Uh, in this tutorial, we're going to use symmetry tools and symbols to create Bo-Katan's helmet. Uh, really loved seeing that appearance in Season 2, Episode 4 of The Mandalorian, where the Night Owl showed up and wrecked a bunch of stormtroopers. That was awesome. So I guess we can consider this a little homage in the form of an Affinity Designer tutorial. If you want to participate and follow along, head over to my Gumroad page. There'll be a link down in the description. You can grab this little template file for free, and you can try to follow along with me. And if you want to start over again and do it later, it's a template, so you can do it as many times as you want. All right, guys, let's get into it. Let's take a look at what we've got. Once you've got the file opened up, we've got this little Bo-Katan palette that I made using the Pastel app. I've got a little sketch I did for you using the Symmetry tool in Pixel Persona, which is the helmet design. I left out the little viewfinder thing. That'll come a little bit later on for you. Let's open up the layer stack and see what's going on. I put this overlay in here for your finished artwork. It's kind of a little bonus feature. Just adds that old school Western style grit to your image once you're done. This is our symbol that we'll be using to create our symmetrical components. I'll get into that in just a moment. And then here's where those components will be nested once we've completed them. Down here inside this rectangle, we've got our paper texture here. We've got my original sketch. And then this is just an example so you can see how it looks when it's all finished. I used my Frankentoon Propaganda Design Kit to get some of these cool textures that you see in there. So if you've got something like that, if you've got some textures you can throw in there too, there's no limits to what you can do once you've got the vector shapes drawn. I also use some basic splatter brushes and some texture brushes to go in there and throw some aging and like paint scratches and stuff in there too. So yeah, I just wanted to provide you with an example of what this thing is can look like once you get it completely finished. I won't go through the whole process here in the video for brevity's sake. I just want to show you how the process looks and what's possible. And I'll show you a couple of little tips and tricks that you can use along the way. So let's go back to the sketch here. All right, I'll close this up. Yeah, I guess the paper texture and the gritty overlay is kind of like, there's that the Mandalorian show has that Western vibe, and I guess that's what I was feeling when I was making this. So yeah, that's what that's all about. And I don't like drawing on white artboards or canvases. I feel like it's like searing my retinas, So I always try to put down like some paper or like a darker color texture to draw on. So now that all that's out of the way, let's get to it, folks. I'm going to close this for a second. I'm going to select this symbol and try to explain a little bit about what it is. Symbols are cool. They are syncable objects that you can have across multiple artboards, across multiple canvases, and anytime you update one, if you have them synced, they all update. I'm going to demonstrate that for you here really quickly. I'm going to duplicate this using 2 fingers and pull. Then I'll snap it into place. Okay, so now I've got 2. And that's what that red dot is all about. That red dot is just letting me know that this is a symbol, and it's just marking the symbol for me. So I've got a little layer in here where I can create vector objects and draw, etc. Now watch what happens. I've got sync symbols turned on with this blue indicator here. I'll go back. Select that vector layer, and I'll just draw a square in one. Everything that I do to this square is automatically updated in the new symbol. And I guess you can see where this is going now. Once I draw one half inside here, I will automatically have the other half. And making it perfectly symmetrical on both sides is just a simple matter of transforming it via the transform panel. Just select the transform panel and go over here to flip horizontal. And there you go. And now everything that I do on the right side will be mirrored on the left side. So right away, let's lock these two symbols into place. They are one symbol, but one is mirrored, technically. You see here in my symbols list, I only have one listed. I have two on the screen, and this one is mirrored. They've got a little orange highlight to let you know that they're symbols and that they are connected. Um, let's go in here. Let's put down our first shape, and I'll show you how this process is supposed to work. I'll outline it really quick. Basically, this is how it works. We will draw in this layer. It will automatically populate in this layer. We'll turn off our syncing. We'll harvest the components, and then we'll repeat the process by turning sync back on and drawing the next component. Let's see how that works. I'll go here. I'll grab my pen tool, and I'm going to lay down the visor really quick. So I'll zoom in a little bit. And these blue lines I just want to show you, I went in to this project and I inserted a horizontal guide and a vertical guide across the center axis there, and I locked them into place. This is useful because it's less intrusive than a grid, and it's all we really need for this. And not only can we snap to it, but we can also see it instead of having to, say I couldn't see this and it was turned off. I'd have to sort of guess where the center line was, and it's a guessing game, and that's no good. We'll just turn this on. Now we know exactly where our center is. So I've got my pen tool selected. I'm going to come in here. I'm going to lay down some nodes. We'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and let's go 6. Okay. I'll grab my node tool. I'll do all the transformations and editing that I need to do. Let's make this a smart node. I'll use 3 fingers to, I'll grab the handle, use 3 fingers to make sure that it mirrors my adjustments. Get it how I need it. I'll pull this one a little bit farther. That looks pretty good. And then I can just tug down on this line here and get that transformation in place, and then I'll move that node ever so slightly. And I think we look good. Now we'll just insert a black fill, and the object is perfectly drawn, perfectly symmetrical, and perfectly mirrored on the other side. So what I'll do is I'll collapse both layers to make sure I can select the curve only. Do not select the layer. We want to leave the layer in place. Think of this as a factory. We want to leave the machinery in place. We just want to harvest what we've created. So like, I'll grab this curve and I'll grab this curve by swiping across the little layer there. I will go to my sync symbols and turn it off. The curves are selected. I'll come back to the layer stack, grab them. It shows me that 2 objects are selected. I'll bring them down here and throw them in the finished components area. Now, a lot of people, their first instinct would be to go ahead and hit add, but actually that can be a mistake in some cases, especially with open objects. You can get lots of anomalies like incomplete objects or weird spaces or lines in the middle of anomalies. In the middle of objects. We don't want those anomalies. So what we want to do is we've got our node tool selected already, and remember, we didn't draw a shape here. We drew an open curve on one side. So the other side is exactly the same open curve, meaning that it is already connected at 2 nodes. All we have to do is hit join down here. Now we have a perfect object. It is completed. There are no wonky anomalies in the object. It's a much better option than always resorting to add. Okay? So, all right, cool. Let's keep moving. Let's do the V. I'm going to deselect with the X, go back to my vector layer, collapse this, turn sync symbols back on, and start again with the process. And again, we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'll select my node tool, tug on this curve here, pull that out a little bit so it's a little bit more aggressive looking. Yeah, that looks nice. And then we'll smooth this one out using the smooth function. And I'll go ahead and add a black fill to the object. Cool. Once that's done, again, we'll come up here. I'll tap that curve and I'll select the other curve. Make sure they're both selected, only the curves. Go to my sync symbols, turn it off, grab the objects, bring them into the finished components area and hit join. And there you go. So that's that. And they're perfectly symmetrical. There are no errors in this object. And it's done so easily and so quickly with such accuracy that it doesn't make sense to work any other way. Yeah. All right. Let's go to the tips and tricks section before we sort of finalize this bad boy. Let's draw these owl eyes. The drawing's rather crude, but that's okay. All we can just look here and see the things we need. We need a couple of circles, and we need a geometric shape here, an angular polygon. So let's get into it. We'll tackle these circles first using some power duplication. I'll hit this ellipse, and I will select a grayish color here, and I'll draw out my first ellipse. Oops, forgot to do one step. Turn syncing back on. There we go. And then select the right layer. That's tricky, right? You got to make sure your order of operations is adhered to. Otherwise, it makes the project you won't be able to perform well, and you could mess some things up by moving the wrong components around. All right, syncing's on. We're on the correct layer. Let's get to it. Draw out that ellipse. Align it with my drawing. Let's hold one finger on the canvas to make sure it stays perfect, and there we go. Now, my drawing, like I said, is pretty crude. Those circles are horrible, and I want to make sure I get at least some level of accuracy. I'm going to open up VizRef really quick, and I've already compiled a few images of Bo-Katan and her helmet. Oh, perfect. There we go. Yeah, VizRef is awesome. If you're doing a project, it's, building mood boards and things like that, you want to have some reference without having to look up something on the internet all the time. VizRef is your go-to. I'm not going to try to make this thing like crazy accurate, but I will try to replicate that thin cutout in the circles there at the right proportions. So what I'll do is I'll get rid of this, and then I'll actually turn the opacity of this object down just enough like that. Okay, here is some basic power duplication. What I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this object, and I'm going to transform it. I'm going to hold 3 fingers on the canvas and grab it by the bottom right corner and adjust the size. Holding 3 fingers on the canvas transforms it around the object's transformation center. So here, I've got it around the center. I think that is about right for the size. Now I'm going to let go. Now, I've done a simple transformation immediately after a duplication. If I duplicate the object again, power duplicate automatically takes over, and it'll perform the second transformation automatically. Check it out. Boom. So it's already created a third circle transformed similarly to the one that I just did. And that's awesome. And that's what we need. What I'll do is I'll come back out. I'll take that first object. It is on top of my original object, as layers always stack themselves up rather than down. I'll grab both of these, and I'll just hit subtract. And there's our owl eye. And now we just take care of the sort of the shape that's there. That's not that difficult to achieve. I'll grab my pen tool. And here's another cool thing. If you're in your main menu, go to snapping. If you've got snap to shape key points turned on, this is so useful for drawing objects. You're going to love it. There's a couple ways you can use this, but here's just one of them. I'm going to select my ellipse layer. Sorry, this one. Now I can snap to those nodes right away. I'll draw here, here, here. Oh, and they disappeared. That's no problem. I'll just select it again and continue drawing. I'm going to do a little trick here. Oops, sorry. We'll go here, here, and then here. See how that works? Where the object is selected, I can snap to its key points. So its nodes are available as snapping objects for me, which is super cool. And then here, I'll select my node tool. I'll hit close to close that curve up. And now I'll start editing it right away. The first thing I want to do, smooth this guy out right here. We'll hit, let's make it a smart node. I'll grab the handle, put 3 fingers down, and edit that appropriately. Now I'll just let go, do one handle. We want to get it perfectly aligned with the edge of that circle there. That's good. We'll bring this down. And then we'll take this node here and check this out. If you want to edit nodes in a way that you can keep them aligned at angles, hold one finger on the canvas while you drag the node, and it will try to align it. You can't see it really well there, but if you zoom in on the screen, there's a yellow line, and that is, it's trying to hold it at an angle there, and which is really good if you want to make sure that your designs are staying. Let's see, if I hold it like this, you can't see it really well, but there's a straight line there, right? A straight yellow line. It's snapping it to 90 degree angle as I pull it up, which is useful. I'm not sure how I want to handle this one. I think I need an extra node, perhaps. Let's mark it like this. Yeah, and then I guess we'll go here, and then yeah, I need an extra node. So I'll put a node here, drag it here, and then pull it out something like this, maybe. And another node here. Something like that. Maybe if it goes like this, and then I'll pull down on that one. All right. Okay. It's not the greatest recreation in the world, and I'm definitely ignoring the drawing that I put down, but I think that's all right. I think it's going to look a little bit more like what it looked like in the show. Okay. So the last thing I'll do is I got to figure out how to get you'll see. If I select my move tool and I just go ahead and hit the fill like this, I've got a problem, right, with that shape because it kind of overshadows the circle there. So I'm going to back up. I'm going to undo. I'm going to grab my node tool again. I'm going to throw a node down right here, and I'm just going to take this and pull it all the way over. I'll adjust these curves so that they're completely inside there. I'll pull that back just a little bit. I don't have anything overlapping or anything like that, so we're good to go. I'll take my move tool again, select the gray, go back to my circles, select both of them, pull the opacity back up, and then for this object and this object, I will use the add feature. Now they are one, and now we have this perfectly symmetrical owl eye part of her design. We'll grab both of those objects, or all 4 of those objects, rather. We'll turn off sync. We'll pull them down into our finished components area, and we're good to go. I'll group them, and they're there. You could probably start labeling your components at this time, but you know, with something like this, which is not vector inking, it's a little bit different because those thumbnails are big enough and unambiguous enough to where I can know exactly what they are without seeing a label. So that's up to you. I won't bother labeling my components just to save a little bit of time. We overshot the eyes there just a little bit, but that's okay. I can just drag those behind, and that's not a problem at all. Cool. All right, let's do one final little tips and tricks thing here right before we go to the close. Okay, let's draw the little triangle protrusions at the top of the head here. We'll go in, go 1, 2, 3. We'll do move tool. We'll go black. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate, pull them apart, right? And then I'll turn this on, which is you can move the transform origin. You see this here? I'll move it down all the way to the bottom left corner. I'll grab this, I'll snap it to 15 degrees and then let it go. But what I'll do is I'll immediately duplicate that and it repeats the process for me. That's super useful. You can just get those objects right into place. You don't have to worry about editing the left side. So all we have to do is edit the right side and everything will be fine. So I'm just going to go back through my objects and edit them how I want them with the node tool. For this guy, we can do it like that. Let's see, this one, we will turn on the move tool again. I will edit this a little bit more, move it up, and then I'll make it wider using the node tool. Those are open curves, so we want to close those up. Close it. There we go. And then I'll do the same thing to this final spike. I'll close it up really quick, turn on the move tool, align the point. My transform origin is there at the bottom left corner of the transform selection box. I'll go ahead and grab this, rock it out to another 15-degree angle, and edit it out. There we go. Get all these selected, turn off sync, select them, 8 objects selected, which is exactly right. Come down here, throw them in, and we're good to go. Before I group them, I'm going to find the 2 center pieces, this one and this one, and I've already got the node tool selected, so I will hit join. They'll be joined, and that'll be good. And now I'll just group all these together as they are all closed curves, and they're good to go. Be careful about moving these things around once you've got them in here. I often just take a little sit rep and go back through and lock them all just so I don't move them around. Okay, so those are good. So yeah, guys, this is the technique that you'll want to use to complete a symmetrical drawing. You can complete the entire drawing this way, except for the little part, the viewfinder part, where that you just build it as you would a normal vector object. So yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and you can use these techniques to build something that looks pretty similar to this. Guys, happy creating. Thanks for dropping by again. Thanks for all the positive vibes and support online. Love chatting with you guys. Be good. Take care of your friends and family. Stay positive. Stay optimistic. And yeah, we'll see you out there. Cheers.